Hey chemistry students. So in our last activity, we played with our little sponge creatures, right? And we had the opportunity to see how the temperature of the water that you put them in affects the time that it takes for them to develop, the time it takes for that pill capsule to open up. And it was really an opportunity for us to practice our lab safety and using our lab equipment, right? And today we're going to do a very similar activity. I called this one the Sponge Creature Acidity Lab. And what we're going to do today is we're going to see how the acidity of the water affects the time that it takes your sponge creature to open up. And so we're going to need to be able to control the temperature of the water, because we don't want the temperature to be different. In our last activity, we saw that a higher temperature leads to your sponge creature developing more quickly. We don't want the temperature of the water to affect this one. We just want the acidity to affect it, so we can see if the acidity affects how long it takes. And so today we're going to have the opportunity again to practice our lab safety, to be able to describe lab safety practices, and also have the opportunity to practice using the lab equipment again, so to be able to describe the use of some of the lab equipment. So let's take a look at some of that. Alright, so now I'm in the lab and I've got my safety equipment on. You're going to notice in your lab handout, you might have this on paper or it might be a digital copy. You're going to notice there are some questions for you to answer before doing the lab. So, look at that, make sure you do those questions first. You'll also notice that I did not give you a step-by-step procedure for how to do this. You can write your own procedure. You figure out what steps you need to take to accomplish this, to answer the question of how the acidity affects the time it takes the sponge creatures to open. Okay, now, like we saw in our last activity, these sponge creatures, they take forever to open at lower temperatures, right? In the last one, we used 50 degrees Celsius water, and it took 5 minutes for that sponge creature to open. But at 70 degrees, it took less than a minute, right? So if we were to put our sponge creatures into room temperature water, which is about 20 degrees Celsius, I would imagine it would take forever for them to open. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat up the water, but we're going to heat up both waters, both the acidic water and the less acidic water, to the same temperature, so that the temperature isn't affecting the difference between them. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now I have some water here that I've put some acid in, right? So I know this water is acidic, and I have some water here that I put a base in, right? And a base, if you don't know, is kind of like the opposite of an acid. We call it alkaline, right? Alkaline means it's a base. It's kind of like the opposite of an acid, right? So this one is an acid, and this one is a base. And we're gonna see which one will help our sponge creatures open faster. Now, kind of a neat thing, if I forget which is which, they both just look like water, right? If I forget which is which, I have this here. This is called phenolphthalein, and phenolphthalein will turn pink when you put it in a base. So if I forget which is which, I can put just a couple of drops, and I can see, does it turn pink? And look, it doesn't turn pink. What about this one? Hope you can see the pink there, right? So that one turns pink. So I know that one is a base because it's pink. All right, now what I'm gonna do, first let's do the acidic water. I'm gonna set up my hot plate so we can get it hot, and we'll need to decide what temperature are we gonna heat it up to. Let's do 50 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to set this up just like we set up the one yesterday, or in the last video, and I'm going to heat it up to about 50 degrees Celsius. So, alright, we got the acidic water heating up here. Just want to point out a couple of things. I've set this up, I got the hot plate, I got the ring stand, I got the thermometer clamp, and I got the thermometer just like we had with the last activity. And I'm going to heat this up to, what did we say, about 50 degrees Celsius. And just want to kind of point out a couple of things. I have right about 100 milliliters of this acidic water, and if you'll notice, I have about the same amount of my alkaline water, my base water. It's about 100 milliliters, right? The exact amount shouldn't really make a difference here. In fact, it shouldn't make any difference at all, but let's control for it as much as we can, right? So we'll control the amount of water, and we'll control the temperature of the water by having about the same for both. So let's give this a few minutes to heat up. Right now it is about 23 degrees Celsius, so we'll come back in a minute. Okay, we're pretty close to 50 degrees Celsius here. We're about 49. We're gonna have to make sure that we heat the alkaline water up to the same temperature. So we're gonna heat it up to 50 degrees Celsius, right? And we're really close. Give it just a second here. There, we're about 50 Celsius. I'm gonna take it off, and hopefully I can get this up here. You can see temperature's probably falling pretty fast on the thermometer. Oh, it's going down, it's going down. It's hard to show you the thermometer because as soon as you take it out, the line starts dropping because it cools off really quick. But the water in there is going to stay 50 degrees Celsius for a while. It won't cool off so fast. Okay, here's our acidic water. Let us see how long it takes our sponge creature. Here's my sponge creature to develop in the acidic water here. I got my stopwatch, and let's go. Alright, so I would say our sponge creature is developed there. If you remember in the last activity, at 50 degrees Celsius, the creature took about 5 minutes to develop. Here in the acidic water at 50 degrees Celsius, you can see it's right about 3 minutes. Let's take this out here. And we've got this guy. What is this guy? Let's see. Looks like, I don't know, well, you can see it looks like this one here. What's that called? Parasaurophilus. Yeah, I'm not a paleontologist, but I think that's how you pronounce Parasaurophilus. So cool, a dinosaur. Alright. So now, let me get my acidic water out of the way and set up my alkaline water. So I'm gonna put my alkaline water, and just to make sure this is alkaline, I put a drop of phenolphthalein in there. It should turn pink if it's a base, and yeah, that turns pink. Definitely a base. And let me set up my thermometer. Get the hot plate going and get it up to temperature, and then we'll try this one. Alright, here we are with the alkaline water. It's getting pretty close to 50 degrees Celsius here. And I'll try again to show you the thermometer, but it might drop before I can get it in front of the camera. Yeah, see, you can see it was at 50, but it drops so fast that it's hard to show you. Alright, let me turn off my hot plate. We will take our alkaline water and set it up for you to see here. It's at the same temperature as the acidic water was. It's at 50 degrees Celsius. Okay. And now we're going to put our sponge creature in there and see how long it takes to develop. So. Alright, we're gonna call that it. It is pretty much sort of developed. That was about 13 minutes. Okay, so the acidic water, it took a good 3 minutes, and the alkaline water here, we're at 13 minutes. I would still say it's not quite completely developed, but I'm not waiting anymore. Oh, he looks all messed up. He's just not quite all the way out there. I believe that's supposed to be the Ankylosaurus down here. Ankylosaurus. So we had in our acidic water, what was this guy? The Parasaurophilus. And then in our alkaline water, we had the Ankylosaurus. Pretty neat stuff, huh? Alright, so our acidic water took 3 minutes, and our alkaline water took 13 minutes. So there is a spot on your lab handout for you to record those times, and there are some questions for you to answer after you've gotten the lab done. So make sure you do that. Next step here is to clean up after yourself. So the water, the alkaline water and the acidic water, we can just pour them down the drain. And then we're going to want to make sure that we rinse out our beakers really nice. Make sure our hot plate is off and unplugged. Rinse off your thermometer, your glass stir rod, and put everything back where you found it, right? Alright, some pretty neat stuff there. So we saw that the acidic water helped the sponge creature to develop much faster than the alkaline water did. So that was pretty neat stuff. Hopefully that helps us to be able to describe some of our lab safety practices, and also to be able to describe the use of some of the lab equipment. So until next time, take it easy. Okay, let's do a couple here just for fun. This is water that is almost 100 degrees Celsius. It is just shy of boiling. Get this off here. This is very, very hot water. Let's see how fast our sponge creature develops in there. Let's see, I got a red one here. Alright. Let's see what happens now. That looks like it. See, we got about 35 seconds on that one. It developed pretty good too. Let's see, which kind did we get here? That looks like the iguanodon. We got an iguanodon there. Cool. Alright, and then the other fun one, let's take a look at. Let me move my boiling hot water here. I have some concentrated hydrochloric acid. So this is hydrochloric acid that is very concentrated. I'm not going to put all that much in here. Let's just put it about 50 milliliters. I got a yellow one, so let's see. How long does this take if I don't drop it? Okay, we'll call that developed as about 6.5 minutes. Much longer than I expected it was going to be. And I'm not going to fish that out of there with my forceps because I'm afraid that the acid will react with the metal in my forceps. So I'll fish that out of there some other way. Yeah, it took a lot longer than I thought it was. It was room temperature concentrated hydrochloric acid. But yeah, okay. You can see though that the boiling water, really quick, it developed. So that was the fastest one. Pretty neat.